The steam was thick in the air, clinging to my skin like a second layer of regret, when the bathroom door flew open without a knock. Gary stood there, frozen in the threshold, his eyes locking onto mine through the fogged glass of the shower door, wide, unblinking, like he'd just stumbled into a crime scene. "Nick," he whispered, his voice cracking like thunder in the silence. "What the hell are you doing to yourself?" I slammed my fist against the tile wall, the pain shooting up my arm like a lifeline, because if I didn't hurt right then, I'd shatter into a million pieces that no one, not even my best friend of 15 years, could ever glue back together. Blood trickled from my knuckles, mixing with the water swirling down the drain, and all I could think was how I'd hidden this war inside me for so long. But now, with Gary staring like I'd betrayed him personally, the dam had finally burst. He didn't run. He didn't yell. Instead, he stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind him. And in that moment, as the hot water burned my wounds clean, I knew our friendship, the one built on late-night drives through the backroads of upstate New York, shared beers under stadium lights at Cornell games, and secrets whispered over campfires in the Adirondacks, was about to drown. That night in the bathroom wasn't the beginning, but God, it felt like the end of everything innocent between us. Gary and I had been inseparable since freshman orientation at Cornell, two kids from upstate New York small towns who bonded over our mutual hatred of the Ivy League pretension and our love for the raw, unfiltered chaos of college football tailgates. He was the golden boy, tall, broad-shouldered, with that easy grin that made professors forget about late papers and girls, and later, guys, line up at frat parties. I was the shadow to his light, wiry, quick with a sarcastic quip, the one who dragged him on midnight hikes up Buttermilk Falls when the pressure of med school apps got too heavy. We'd crashed at each other's family homes every summer, dodging Gary's overbearing dad, a retired cop who still treated the living room like an interrogation room, and my mom's endless church bake sales, where she'd smile through gritted teeth while gossiping about the neighbors' alternative lifestyles. Upstate New York wasn't exactly a rainbow flag parade. It was pickup trucks with Confederate stickers, Friday night lights where the quarterback's dad owned the local gun shop, and that quiet undercurrent of judgment that made you learn early how to bury parts of yourself deep. I'd known I was gay since I was 14, stealing glances at the swim team captain in the locker room, and feeling my stomach twist into knots that had nothing to do with nerves. But coming out? In a town where the biggest scandal was the diner owner's son getting busted for weed? No way. So I buried it, dated a girl from youth group for 2 miserable years just to keep the peace, and poured everything into Gary. He became my anchor, my alibi, the one person who saw the real me, or at least the version I let him see. By senior year, we'd rented a dingy off-campus house on Thurston Avenue, the kind with peeling wallpaper and a fridge that hummed like it was auditioning for a horror flick. That's where the cracks started showing. Gary was pre-med, laser-focused on matching into Johns Hopkins, while I floundered in poli-sci, pretending I had a future in DC lobbying when really, I just wanted to write stories about boys like me, loving in secret, breaking under the weight of it all. I'd scribble them late at night, pages filled with half-formed confessions, then burn them in the backyard fire pit before dawn. One February evening, after a brutal loss to Penn in the Ivy tournament, we stumbled home buzzed on cheap whiskey from the Oak Commons dive bar. Gary collapsed on the couch, his Cornell hoodie soaked from the sleet outside, and pulled me down beside him. "Nick, man, you're the only one who gets it," he slurred, his arms slung heavy across my shoulders. His breath was warm against my neck, whiskey sweet, and for a heartbeat, I let myself imagine it was more, his hand sliding lower, his lips brushing mine in the dim glow of the lava lamp we'd salvaged from a garage sale. But then he laughed, that booming, oblivious laugh, and punched my arm. What would I do without my wingman? "You're gonna help me charm the pants off those Hopkins interviewers, right?" Wingman. The word hit like a gut punch. I forced a grin, chugged the rest of my drink, and changed the subject to the latest Marvel flop we'd binge-watched. That night, alone in my room, I cried for the first time in years, silent, choking sobs into my pillow, because loving your best friend when you're both too scared to name it, it's a special kind of hell. Fast forward 2 years, and we're post-grad ghosts haunting Ithaca's craft breweries, Gary grinding through MCAT retakes while I temp at a local newspaper, churning out fluff pieces on Apple festivals and zoning board dramas. He'd started dating Sarah, this bubbly psych major from SUNY Cortland with ringlet curls and a laugh like wind chimes. She was perfect for him, outgoing, uncomplicated, the kind of girl who baked lavender scones for his study sessions and didn't question why he never talked about his dad anymore. I hated her, not because she was bad, but because she got to hold his hand at the Finger Lakes wineries without the world crumbling. I'd force smiles at their double dates. I'd bring a girl from the newsroom, Emily, who was sweet but saw right through my act. "You're not into this, Nick," she'd whisper over greasy diner fries at the Ithaca Commons. "And it's not me." I'd shrug it off, blame the long hours, but inside, it festered. Gary noticed, of course. He always did. "You okay, bro? You've been ghosting our runs." Our morning jogs along Cayuga Lake had been sacred, pounding pavement at dawn, trash-talking the tourists, stopping for black coffee at the boathouse. Now, I bailed half the time, claiming deadlines or hangovers. The shower incident hit on a muggy July night, the kind where the air hangs heavy with thunderstorm promise and the crickets scream like they're auditioning for a horror soundtrack. I'd been fighting with Mom all week, another passive-aggressive sermon about finding a nice girl at the annual church picnic, her eyes flicking to the rainbow pin I'd stupidly left on my jacket from a pride rally in Syracuse I never told her about. Dad, ever the peacemaker, just patted my shoulder and muttered about tough times. But it wasn't the words. It was the fear in their voices, the unspoken plea that I not become the family scandal. I got home late from a shift, the apartment, now just mine, since Gary had moved in with Sarah to save on rent, reeking of takeout, lo mein, and regret. The fight replayed in my head on loop, twisting into every insecurity I'd ever nursed. Before I knew it, I was in the shower, water scalding, fists flying at the wall until my knuckles split open. The pain was supposed to ground me, remind me I was real, but it just amplified the roar in my chest. Why can't I just be normal? Why does loving him feel like treason? And then the door opened. Gary, keys in hand. He still had a set, for emergencies, his face pale under the harsh fluorescent. He'd come to check on me after Sarah mentioned I looked off at the farmer's market that morning. His eyes darted from the bloodied water to my face, and something shifted in his expression, not disgust, not pity, but a raw, mirrored pain that made my heart stutter. "Nick," he said again, softer now, stepping closer despite the steam. He grabbed a towel from the rack, held it out like a white flag. "Talk to me, please." I shut off the water, the sudden silence deafening, and wrapped the towel around my waist, suddenly hyper-aware of my nakedness, of the vulnerability I'd just exposed. "It's nothing," I lied, voice hoarse. "Bad day." "Bullshit." He leaned against the sink, arms crossed, that stubborn jaw set like it was during our pickup basketball games at the rec center. "You've been pulling away for months. Sarah thinks it's her fault. Hell, I think it's my fault. What did I do?" The question hung there, heavy as the humidity. What hadn't he done? Laughed off the rumors about that one frat party hookup with the lacrosse captain? Bragged about Sarah's latest Pinterest date night while I nursed a beer alone? Acted like our brotherhood was bulletproof when every touch, every shared glance, chipped away at my resolve. I sank to the floor, back against the cool towel clutched like armor. "It's not you, Gary. It's everything." The words tumbled out then, a flood I couldn't dam. The pressure from my folks, the loneliness of hiding who I was, the way watching him build a life with her felt like watching my own heart get auctioned off at a county fair. I didn't say the part about him, not yet. That was the secret lodged deepest, the one that could torch our friendship to ash. He slid down beside me, our shoulders brushing, and for the first time, I saw the cracks in him too. "My dad's why I moved in with Sarah," he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "He cornered me last month, after the family barbecue. Said if I didn't man up and propose soon, he'd cut me off. Like loving her, or anyone, is some kind of performance." His laugh was bitter, hollow. "I thought med school would fix it, make me the son he wants. But Nick, I'm tired of pretending to." We sat there until the water ran cold in the pipes, trading fragments of truth like contraband. When he finally stood, pulling me up with him, his hand lingered on my arm. A beat too long, warm and steady. We're in this together, okay? Like always. He clapped my shoulder, that old familiar gesture, but his eyes held mine, searching, and I swear there was a flicker of something unspoken, electric. As he left, promising to crash on the couch if I needed, I stared at my reflection in the fogged mirror, bruised knuckles, red-rimmed eyes, and wondered if I'd just handed him the match to light our world on fire. Little did I know, the real blaze was only starting. The next morning dawned gray and drizzly, the kind of upstate autumn that seeps into your bones and makes you question every life choice. I woke to the smell of burnt toast, Gary's signature breakfast fail, and the sound of him humming off-key to some Bruce Springsteen track on his phone. Boss was our anthem, blaring from his truck stereo on those endless drives to Watkins Glen for gorge hikes, windows down, yelling lyrics until our throats ached. Normalcy, or the illusion of it, anyway. He slid a plate across the chipped Formica counter, charred bread slathered in peanut butter, a banana sliced crookedly beside it. Eat up, drama queen. Can't fix the world on an empty stomach. His grin was tentative, like he was testing the waters after last night's storm. I managed to chuckle, but it stuck in my throat. How do you go back to banter when you've cracked open your chest and shown him the wiring underneath? We spent the day pretending, sort of. He dragged me to the Cornell orchards for apple picking, claiming it was therapeutic, but really, I think he just needed the distraction as much as I did. The air was crisp, laced with cider donut grease from the farm stand, and for a while, it worked. We loaded our bags with Honey Crisps, racing each other down the rows like we were kids again, his laughter echoing off the hillside. At one point, he tackled me into a leaf pile, pinning me down with that wrestler's build from high school, his face inches from mine, breath mingling in the chill. Gotcha, he murmured, and time stuttered, his hazel eyes flecked with gold in the dappled light, the weight of him solid, safe. I shoved him off, heart hammering, muttering something about cheaters. But as we drove back, windows fogged from our heat, he got quiet. Last night. Thanks for trusting me, Nick. Means more than you know. His hand drummed the steering wheel to Thunder Road, but his gaze flicked to me, heavy with subtext. I nodded, throat tight, and changed the subject to the upcoming Syracuse game. Orange versus the World, our ritual tailgate with cheap domestics and burnt brats. That fragile piece held for a week, maybe two. I'd started therapy on the sly, scraping by on freelance gigs for the Ithaca Journal, sessions with Dr. Patel in a strip mall office that smelled like chamomile tea and regret. She was sharp, an Indian Annie type with zero tolerance for my deflections. Nicholas, hiding love isn't survival, it's suffocation, she'd say, her pen tapping like a metronome. I nodded along, but applying it? That was the kicker. Gary threw himself into Hopkins' apps, holing up in the library's Gothic stacks, emerging bleary-eyed with takeout war wounds. Sarah was there more, flitting in with care packages of kale smoothies and flashcards, her presence a polite intrusion. One night, she cornered me in the kitchen while he napped on the couch. He's worried about you, Nick. Said you two had a moment. Whatever that means. Her smile was all teeth, probing, and I felt exposed, like she'd glimpsed the undercurrent I was drowning in. It's nothing. I echoed my shower lie, busying myself with the fridge. But she lingered, twisting her engagement ring. Wait, engagement? News to me. We're thinking spring wedding, she confided, voice bubbly but edged. Gary wants you as best man, obviously. Family, right? The word landed like a slap. Family. As if I hadn't spent years building a chosen one around him, brick by painful brick. I congratulated her, mustered enthusiasm about venues at Buttermilk Falls Inn, but inside, rage simmered. Not at her, exactly, but at the script we were all following. That weekend, Gary confirmed it over beers at the Nines, the dive's neon glow casting shadows on his face. It's right, man. Sarah's. Steady. Dad's off my back, Hopkins is in sight. He clinked his bottle to mine, but his eyes didn't meet, and when he hugged me goodbye, quick, one-armed, I caught the faint tremor in his grip. The betrayal wasn't the proposal, it was the omission, the way he'd shared my vulnerability but buried his own. Or maybe I was projecting. Either way, it fueled the fire. I started pulling away harder, skipping our runs, ghosting group hangs, burying myself in a novella about two soldiers in the Civil War, lovers divided by duty and denial. Dr. Patel called it self-sabotage. I called it survival. Then came the party. Halloween at the Delta U house, a sprawling Victorian on Fall Creek Drive that still hosted Rager's despite alumni complaints. Gary begged me to come. Come on. Nick, costumes. It'll be like old times. And against my better judgment, I did. Dressed as Indiana Jones, fedora from the thrift shop on State Street. I arrived late, the bass from some EDM remix thumping through the fog machine haze. He was indie too, of course. Twin fedoras, khaki vests, that synchronized bullshit we pulled at high school dances to crack up the room. Sarah was Marion, all sequins and sass, draped on his arm like an accessory. Double trouble, she squealed, pulling us into shots of Fireball that burned going down. The night blurred, Jell-O wrestling in the backyard. I steered clear. Beer pong marathons where Gary's trash talk was sharper than ever, and a conga line that snaked through the kitchen, body slick with sweat. Around midnight, I lost him in the crush, stepped out for air on the creaky porch, the October chill biting through my shirt. That's when I saw it. Gary and Sarah, tucked in the shadows by the oak tree, her hands framing his face as she kissed him deep, urgent. But he pulled back, whispering something fierce, his posture rigid. She stormed off, heels clicking on the gravel, and he slumped against the trunk, head in hands. I should have left it, but the whiskey whispered go, and I did. Gary, my voice cut the night, tentative. He startled, eyes bloodshot. Fedora askew. Nick, shit, you saw that? Saw enough. I leaned on the railing, heart pounding. What's going on? Really? He dragged a hand through his hair, the gesture so familiar it ached. I can't do it. The wedding, Hopkins, it's all this. Cage. Dad's calls every day. Don't throw it away for some phase. Phase. Like what I feel is temporary. His voice broke, and he looked at me. Really looked, the porch light catching the desperation in his eyes. I told Sarah tonight. About. Everything. My world tilted. Everything. A nod, slow, waited. I'm bi, Nick. Or gay. Hell, I don't know the label, but it's not her. Never was. The confession hung there, raw as an open wound, and then, quieter. It's been you. For years. But I couldn't. With Dad, with everything. The air crackled, charged like the storm finally breaking. I stepped closer, our indies inches apart, the irony bitter. Why now? I whispered, voice trembling. Why tell me when you're about to marry her? Because I'm scared, he admitted, reaching for my hand. Tentative, then firm, fingers lacing like they'd always belonged. Scared of losing you if I don't. Scared of living without this. His thumb brushed my knuckle, the one still scabbed from the shower, and heat bloomed where we touched. I kissed him then, or we met halfway, lips crashing in a collision of relief and terror, tasting of cinnamon whiskey and salt. It was messy, desperate, hands fisting shirts, breaths mingling under the harvest moon. For those stolen minutes, the party noise faded. The world narrowed to us, two boys from nowhere New York, finally claiming what we'd denied. But nothing in our story was ever that simple. As we broke apart, foreheads pressed, sirens wailed in the distance. Cops breaking up the rager, routine for Delta U. Gary pulled away first, eyes wide with that old panic. We can't, not like this. Sarah, Dad. The rejection stung, sharper than any fist. So what? We go back inside, pretend. My voice rose, laced with hurt. No, he said, fierce. But we talk. Tomorrow. Promise. He vanished into the chaos, leaving me on the porch, lips tingling, heart fracturing. Tomorrow came, but so did the hurricane. The morning after the kiss, I woke with a hangover that pulsed like a war drum and a certainty that I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. My phone buzzed incessantly. Text from Gary, we need to talk. Coffee at the Commons? 10 a.m. Then Sarah, WTF happened last night? Gary's a mess. And Mom, call me. Pastor says you're skipping youth group. The trifecta of my unraveling life. I dragged myself downtown. The Ithaca Commons, a ghost town under slate skies, rain pattering on the awnings like impatient fingers. Gary was already at our spot outside Viva Taqueria, nursing a black coffee, his knee bouncing under the table. No fedora now, just rumpled hoodie and jeans, the boy-next-door armor he wore when the world got too real. He spotted me, stood halfway, then sat back down, awkward as hell. Nick. Hey. His smile was lopsided, guilty. I slid into the booth, ordered a chai to steady my hands. So, talk. He exhaled, long and shaky, stirring sugar packets into oblivion. Last night. That was real. For me, anyway. His eyes met mine, earnest, pleading. I've been fighting it since college. That time we skinny dipped into Gannick Falls after finals? You laughed when I tripped on the rocks, helped me up, and I just wanted to kiss you right there. But I panicked. Thought if I said anything, it'd ruin us. The memory hit hard. Moonlit water, our clothes in a heap on the shore, the thrill of vulnerability mixed with that electric tension we'd always danced around. It almost did, I said, voice low. Every time you brought home a girl, or dodged my questions about your dad, it felt like you were choosing them over me. I'm sorry. He reached across, hesitated, then covered my hand with his. Warm, calloused from weekend carpentry gigs at his uncle's shop. Dad's always been this shadow. After Mom died, he doubled down. Men don't cry. Men provide. Men marry women. I internalized that crap. Dated Sarah to prove it. But it's poison, Nick. And last night, when I told her, she slapped me, called me a liar, said I'd wasted her time. Guilt twisted in my gut. Shit, Gary. Is she okay? He shrugged, bitter. She's family money. Her folks own half the vineyards around Seneca Lake. She'll land on her feet. But me? I broke the lease this morning. Packed a bag. Crashed at my cousin's in Trumansburg. Needed space to figure this out. The weight of it settled. Him, out, sort of, single, and us, teetering on the edge of something real. What about Hopkins? Your dad. Fuck Hopkins for a minute. His grip tightened. And Dad, I'll deal. But us? I want to try. If you do. Hope flared, fragile as a match flame. We spent the afternoon wandering, rain-slick streets, ducking into the sci-fi fantastique for old comics, sharing falafel at the Middle Eastern spot on the corner. It felt like a first date, tentative and charged. His arm brushing mine in the stacks, a shared laugh over a Calvin and Hobbes reprint. The way he'd catch my eye and hold it. No pretense. By dusk, we were at his truck, parked overlooking the gorge, fingers intertwined on the console as Born to Run played low. I love you, Nick, he said, simple as that. The words I'd scripted 1,000 times in burned notebooks. Not as a brother. As everything. I leaned over, kissed him soft, exploratory, no party frenzy, just us, rain tapping the windshield like applause. It deepened, hands roaming shoulders, necks, but we pulled back, breathless, boundaries intact. I love you too, I whispered. Always have. Bliss, right? Wrong. Life in small-town America doesn't hand out happy endings without a fight. Gary's coming out rippled out like a stone in Cayuga. First Sarah's friends, whispering at the co-op about the cheating doc-to-be, then his med school cohort, side eyes in group chats he pretended not to see. But the real storm brewed at home. His dad showed up unannounced a week later, pounding on my apartment door like it was a suspect lineup. Ex-cop build, beer gut straining the flannel, face red as a stoplight. Where's my son? He bellowed, shouldering past when I cracked it open. Gary emerged from the bedroom, where he'd been crashing since the lease bust, pale but resolute. Dad, what the hell? The confrontation exploded, accusations flying like shrapnel. That girl's family called, said you batted for the other team? What kind of joke is this, Gary? After all I've done. Dad's voice boomed, veins bulging, while Gary stood his ground, voice steady for the first time I'd heard. It's not a joke. It's me. And Nick's part of it. The silence after was nuclear. Dad's eyes flicked to me. Disgust, betrayal, the full cocktail. You? Him? Jesus, boy, what did he do? Poison you? He lunged, not at Gary, but me, shoving me against the wall, forearm like a battering ram on my chest. You turn my son queer? Gary tackled him off, shouts echoing down the hall. Get out. We're done if you can't accept this. Cops came. Neighbors called it in, and Dad was cuffed for assault, released with a warning. Gary filed a no-contact order that night, hands shaking as he signed at the station. We drove home in silence, my ribs bruised, but ego more so. He'll come around. I lied, knowing the fracture was permanent. But betrayal cuts deepest from within. 2 weeks later, anonymous emails hit my inbox. Screenshots of Gary's old texts to Sarah, twisted out of context. Miss you, babe, from months back. Paired with my Facebook posts about Pride events. Homewrecker. Groom stealer. The sender? Unknown. But the IP traced to a Cortland coffee shop, Sarah's haunt. She denied it when confronted, tears streaming at the Commons Park. I was hurt, okay? But I didn't. God. Nick, I just wanted him back. Lies. Maybe. But the damage stuck. Gary's Hopkins interview tanked. Whispers of personal issues derailing his app. He spiraled. Booze-fueled rants at the nines, skipping runs, ghosting my texts. One night, he showed up hammered at my door, eyes wild. It's over, Nick. All of it. He collapsed on the couch, bottle in hand. Dad's right. I'm a failure. Can't even keep a girl, let alone make something of myself. I knelt beside him, pried the bottle away. This isn't you talking. It's the noise. He grabbed my shirt, pulled me close, too close, breath sour. You think I chose this? Loving you? It's a curse. The words landed like knives, twisting old wounds. Misunderstanding? Or truth, alcohol loosened? I recoiled, stung. If it's a curse, why fight for it? Because I can't lose you. He sobbed, but the damage echoed. We argued till dawn. Secrets unearthed, like how he'd known about my crushes in college and said nothing, fearing it'd make him next. Accusations flew, my pulling away as abandonment, his proposal as cowardice. By sunrise, he was gone, bag packed, mumbling about crashing with a study buddy in Rochester. The void was deafening. Dr. Patel upped my sessions. Mom called, voice tight. Gary's dad says, things. Are you okay? I lied, said yes. But inside, fury boiled. At him for cracking, at the town for its bigotry, at myself for believing we could rewrite the script. The climax crashed on Thanksgiving. I'd fled to Syracuse for the game. Orange versus Pitt, Turkey Day tradition, but Gary texted, family dinner at Dad's. Truce? Desperate for closure, I went. The house in Elmira reeked of overcooked turkey and tension, Dad's glare a laser across the table. Gary sat beside me, civil but distant, passing mashed potatoes like we were strangers. Then Sarah arrived, uninvited, arm in arm with Dad, her smile venomous. Thought we'd make it a full reunion. The trap sprung, Dad's evidence slideshow on the TV, doctored photos, my pride posts captioned with slurs, Gary's confessions, to her twisted into regret. See? Brainwashed, Dad growled. Gary snapped, hurling the remote. Enough. I'm gay, Dad, deal or die. Chaos. Plates shattering, Sarah screaming, me shielding Gary as Dad swung a fist. We fled into the snow, truck tires spinning on the driveway gravel. I'm sorry, Gary gasped, blood from a split lip trickling. I thought. Family first. Not like this, I said, voice breaking. You chose them. Again. He pulled over at a rest stop off I-86, the thruway dark and endless. No, I choose you. But I need time to fight for this right. Tears froze on my cheeks. Time's what broke us. We kissed in the cab, fierce, forgiving, a pact against the storm. But as he drove me home, doubt lingered. Was it real, or another pause in the betrayal reel? Winter clamped down on upstate like a vice. Blizzards burying the gorges, salt trucks rumbling Cayuga's shores, holidays blurring into a haze of forced cheer and empty promises. Gary and I entered a limbo dance, daily texts turning to calls to stolen weekends in Syracuse motels when his Rochester space felt too vast. We'd hole up with takeout Thai and Netflix marathons of the West Wing. Ironic escapism into a world where love conquered policy. But the undercurrent thrummed, his Hopkins deferral letter, Dad's radio silence broken only by a curt, disowned voicemail, Sarah's cease and desist for emotional distress that his cousin lawyer shredded. Psychologically, it was a minefield. I'd wake from nightmares of the shower blood turning to Gary's, or his dad's fist connecting instead of glancing. Dr. Patel diagnosed PTS delight, trauma bonds. She called our push-pull and prescribed journaling, the kind that forced me to name the anger, at Gary for his half-in hesitations, at myself for clinging to a love that felt like quicksand. He saw a campus counselor in Rochester, emerging with vocab like internalized homophobia and reparenting, but the progress was jagged. Nights he'd called drunk, confessing, I missed the easy yes, code for the straight-passing facade we'd worn like camouflage. The misunderstanding deepened in February. Valentine's bleed over into a brutal cold snap. He planned a surprise. Drive to Niagara Falls, the American side, for that kitschy romance. Cliché, sure, but after Elmira, we craved the performative. I met him at the border town truck stop, heart lifting at his sheepish grin, thermos of spiked hot chocolate in hand. The falls roared, misting rainbows in the floodlights, and for hours, we walked the state park paths, hands gloved but linked, sharing dreams. Him pivoting to nursing at URMC, me pitching my novella to a lit agent in NYC. That night, in a Rainbow Falls View suite, irony noted, we talked till the power flickered, secrets I'd hoarded, like the youth group girl I'd ghosted after she guessed my secret, or the coming out letter I'd written to mom at 16 and shredded. He confessed his bisexuality experiments in high school, kisses with a teammate at football camp, buried under bro stuff, and the guilt that made him overcompensate with Sarah. Vulnerability stripped us bare, no physical rush, just souls aligning in the dim lamplight. But dawn brought the call. Dad, stroke in the night, Elmira Hospital. Gary's face drained of color. I have to go. We drove south in silence, the thruway a white-knuckled blur. At the ER, Dad lay tubed and frail, monitors beeping like accusations. Sarah hovered. Yes, her, coordinating with aunts, her presence a thorn. He's stable, she said coolly to Gary, ignoring me. But he asked for you. Alone. The weight shredded us. Gary emerged hollow-eyed, whispering. He apologized. Said he was scared of losing me like mom. Tears tracked his cheeks. Wants to try? Family counseling. Relief warred with dread. And us. He cupped my face, thumb tracing my jaw. Your family too. But Dad, he needs me now. The decision cracked me open. Stay and fight the integration, or let him heal solo. Go, I said, voice steady despite the quake. But don't disappear. He nodded, kissed me fierce. Last for weeks, it turned out. Spring thawed the literal ice, but not the rift. Gary dove into rehab visits, group therapy in horse country barns where Dad learned ally vocab haltingly. Progress reports trickled, shared hikes in the Finger Lakes, awkward pride sticker on the truck bumper. But me? Sidelined. Texts lagged from daily to weekly, calls cut short by hospital runs. Misunderstanding festered into resentment. Was he recommitting to the old script? Dad's prodigal, Sarah's shadow lingering? I threw myself into writing, the novella morphing into echoes of the gorge, a tale of two men navigating betrayal's echo chamber. An agent bit, small press in Brooklyn, and suddenly, readings in the village, a lifeline pulling me south. The climax hit in May, Cornell reunion weekend. Campus blooming riotous, alums swarming BB Lake with craft brews and war stories. Gary insisted we go, full circle, booking the off-campus house we'd shared. It started idyllic. Tailgate at Sholkopf, his arm around me in the sea of red, introducing me as my guy to wide-eyed classmates. That night, bonfire at the gorge, we slipped away to our old swimming spot, stripping to boxers in the moonlight, diving into the chill current. Laughter echoed as we surfaced, splashing. Then he pulled me under, kissing in the dark water, weightless, renewed. But dawn brought the ambush. Dad arrived, unannounced, with Sarah in tow. Moral support, he grunted. They'd driven from Elmira, Dad's recovery lending false bravado. We need to talk, son, about this phase. Gary's face hardened. It's not a phase, Dad. Nick's my future. The argument detonated. Dad's progress crumbling under fear, Sarah piping in with enabling barbs, me the villain in their narrative. You stole him, she spat, and Dad nodded, fist clenched, not swinging, but the thread hummed. Gary defended, voice rising. I choose who I love. But when Dad clutched his chest, feigning angina, the spell broke. Enough, Gary sighed, deflating. Not here. Not now. He drove them away, promising to call, leaving me by the fire's dying embers, fury and grief colliding. Betrayal's final twist, a note in his truck glove box, glimpsed as he left, Sarah's handwriting. Lunch tomorrow? For old times. Harmless? Or the old pull? I confronted him that night, voice shaking over the phone. Is this real, Gary? Or am I the rebound in your redemption arc? Silence. Then, I don't know anymore. Dad's trying, Saris. Confused. And you're pulling away too, with your city dreams. The words ignited. Pulling away? You're the one orbiting the past. We hung up fractured, the high of reunion ashes. Days blurred, me packing for Brooklyn sublet, him radio silent. The unexpected peak came via email. Echoes accepted for publication, launch in June. Elation soured by solitude. I called Mom. Finally, spilling it all in a tear-choked voicemail. She showed up next day, church potluck Tupperware in hand, hugging me fierce. My boy's brave, she whispered. Proud. Gary resurfaced at the reading, a shadow in the back of the Brooklyn bookstore, eyes shadowed. After, amid champagne toasts and agent schmoozes, he pulled me into the alley. Rain-slicked cobblestones, taxi horns blaring. I quit therapy with Dad. Told Sarah to move on, for real. And me? I'm enrolling at Columbia Nursing, closer to you. Shocked then, why now? Because losing you is the curse. He dropped to one knee. Not proposal, but vulnerability incarnate. Holding a locket with our Cornell ID's photo. Kids grinning oblivious. Marry me? Not today, but someday. Build this with me. Tears mixed with rain. I hauled him up, kissed him deep. Romantic climax amid the grit. New York pulse affirming our messy humanity. No tidy bow. Dad's emails trickle apologies. Sarah fades to acquaintance. We navigate. His night shifts, my revisions, weekend drives back to Ithaca for lake swims, arguments over dishes that end in laughter. It's not fairy tale. Love in America, especially ours, is grit and grace. Conflict scarring but strengthening. But in the quiet, his head on my chest to Springsteen's, if I should fall behind. I feel it. Redemption not in perfection, but persistence. We're echoes, yeah, but together, we resonate.